In this video, we're taking a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of February 10th. Looks like Copper Age is king. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle Haas. And in this video, we're taking a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of February 10th. Now, for those who don't know, Go Collect puts out a weekly article that analyzes the hottest selling comic books based on volume of sales and movement in the market. So like I like to do on Mondays, let's take a look at the list and see what's trending. But before I get into the books, if you guys would drop me a like or a comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, helps support the channel, do one of those things, I would appreciate it. And we also got to do a little bit of other housekeeping. Now, the other week I had announced my 10,000 subscriber giveaway contest that I'm running right now. At the time of recording this video, I'm actually really close to 10K. Maybe we're going to hit it, this week or next. So if you want to get a chance to win one of the 10K giveaway books, be sure to hop over to that video. I will put a link in the description or, annotation or whatever. And you may want to sign up because one of the books that I'm giving away definitely got really hot coming off the heels of a certain trailer that hit a certain Super Bowl just the other day. With that out of the way, let us get into this article here today. And of course, this article is written by Matt Tuck. I will put a link in the description of the article in case you want to do further reading, but I will give you guys my analysis here today. And we got a cool list this week, a lot of Copper Age books. But before we get into the Copper Age, we do have one outlier. And that one, of course, is Star Wars, The High Republic, #1, up 31 spots, sitting in the 65th spot. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, this is the first issue of the Star Wars The High Republic series that came out earlier this year, or excuse me, actually last year, 2021, written by Cavan Scott. And this would feature the first appearance of a few different characters within the High Republic universe, but most notably Keeve Trennis and Scare. Now, this is a book that at the time in which it came out, early in 2021, this one was definitely flying off the charts. I mean, there were a lot of variant covers. It was definitely on all the hot lists that week. And there was a lot of anticipation that, this was going to be the new hot Star Wars book. Like we're thinking Star Wars 42, or we're thinking, Star Wars The Clone Wars with the first appearance of Ahsoka Tano. A lot of the speculation brewing around the Star Wars universe because of the excitement of The Mandalorian and I guess the excitement of Book of Boba Fett. Even though Book of Boba Fett wasn't received very highly in terms of like how the fans felt about it and the critic reviews and things like that, it definitely seemed to, still cause a ruckus within the comic book collecting market. A lot of the Spec books or a lot of the books that related to the show, like Chris Santon and Cad Bane, definitely had huge spikes in the market. And I think that overall, even though the show wasn't that good, a lot of people are thinking that, what they're doing with the foundation of the Star Wars universe is building towards something. So all of the potential books that have, significance out there in the market are definitely gaining traction. And there has been rumors for quite some time that there was going to be a Star Wars High Republic, either film series or maybe Disney Plus show in development. So a lot of people are thinking that this right here might be the Star Wars book to own with relation to that High Republic series. And that's one of the reasons why it's one of the hottest comics of the week. And as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll see that there are 9.8s, 2,300 on the census, selling fair market value around the $70 range, but you can see that 30-day moving average is actually sitting around the $81 range. So honestly, not too bad of a price overall for a book that features a bunch of first appearances. So it could be a good spec for a lot of people out there. And then down here at the bottom, of course, because it's a new slab or a new book, it's not going to see too many low grade slabs. But typically speaking, when I go onto eBay looking for this thing, you can definitely find this book being sold around that, $20, $30, maybe $35 range or so. But if you ask me, a CGC 9.8 being sold around the $80 range is not too bad a price for a slab. And speaking of not so bad prices for slabs, let's take a moment to talk about the sponsor of this video, MySlabs.com. Now, for those who don't know, MySlabs.com is an online marketplace that specializes in graded collectibles. They got cards, they got NFTs, and they got what you guys want, comics. And the best part about MySlabs.com is you can see right there, 1% fees for sellers. So sellers get to keep more money in their pockets and they can make better deals with buyers and everybody wins overall. I'm going to play this little commercial for you guys and then I will see you on the other end.
Tired of paying 10%, 15% or more to sell your cards, comics, and digital collectibles? How does 1% sound? Too good to be true? Well, not anymore. MySlabs.com is the web's premier user-driven marketplace for buying and selling slabbed cards, sealed wax, and now slabbed comics and digital collectibles. So the next time you're forced to pay 10% or more to sell something from your collection, head over to MySlabs.com and join the 1% revolution.
Definitely go check out MySlabs.com and see if it's a marketplace for you. They got a lot of great books on there, a lot of great deals. And one of the cool things about MySlabs is actually right now they're having a special Instagram giveaway. They're putting up this amazing Hulk 180 in a CBCS 8.5 grade first cameo appearance of Wolverine. All you got to do to enter this contest is go over to their Instagram at MySlabs_comics, like and share the post, and have a MySlabs.com account, and you will be entered to win this book right here. The contest runs through tomorrow, February 15th, so definitely be sure to enter yourself into the contest before it ends. All right, let's go on now to the second hottest comic of the week, and the second hottest comic of the week is one of my favorites. This one right here is Uncanny X-Men number 221, up 34 spots, now sitting in the 32nd spot. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, you guys know this is the first full appearance, maybe you would call it, or first appearance of Mr. Sinister, the great X-Men villain who everyone is anticipating might be that next character that we see against the X-Men on the silver screen. Now, this is a book that came out in 1987, written by Chris Claremont, and would feature the first appearance of one of the X-Men's most iconic villains. Now, this is a book that I think is really interesting because it constantly goes throughout the market as being sort of undervalued or maybe a little bit overvalued. It's always like kind of popping in hot lists at different times. We've seen it on the Go Collect list from time to time because, you know, what's going to happen with a book like this is that everyone's going to anticipate Mr. Sinister showing up at some point, and then, you know, people get tired or they get impatient, and then the book starts to take a little bit of a correction, and then people realize that it's corrected back down again, and then they want to buy back into this book. And honestly, pretty affordable overall, knowing the character you are getting. I mean, I think Mr. Sinister has had a pretty great run in the recent X-Men comic books. It feels very likely that we might see him at some point in the future. One of the cool things I think that is going on right now with the MCU is that it feels like the High Evolutionary is going to be coming into the mix with Guardians of the Galaxy number 3. And if the High Evolutionary comes in and he continues to be a character, you know, studying the evolution of things, I feel like they might be able to weave his storyline into that of Mr. Sinister later on down the road, because Mr. Sinister and the High Evolutionary have actually had some interactions in the past. And as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll see that there actually are a couple 9.9s, 2 on the census. Fair market value suggests for those that they would be selling around the $13,000 range, but, you know, really hard to determine what those would actually go for. But the 9.8s you see here, 1,400 on the census. Fair market value sits at the $575 range, although 30-day moving average is only 437. So kind of like what I was talking about, you know, sometimes these books, you know, correct so far down that, you know, it feels like another good opportunity to buy back in. So once it reaches that floor, there's going to be a lot of transactions of people buying this book. And then down here at the bottom, you know, it's a Copper Age book, so not going to be too many low-graded copies on the census, but generally speaking, when I go into eBay looking for this thing, I could see it being sold, you know, anywhere from the low $50 to around $100, $120 or so. All right, let's go on now to the third hottest comic of the week, and the third hottest comic of the week is another great one that has another special place in my heart. This one is Web of Spider-Man number 1, up 34 spots, sitting in the 21st slot. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, this would be the first issue of the Web of Spider-Man series that came out in 1985, written by Louis Simonson and drawn that amazing cover by Charles Vess. Now, this is a book that I've actually highlighted here on the channel a few times. I talked about this in my starting a collection on a $100 budget, and I made mention of the fact that, you know, if I were going to start my collection, this one right here would be the first book that I would target. It would be my go-to book. And it looks like, you know, some of the market is starting to catch up onto this thing. I mean, it's always been a prize comic in the market. A lot of people have always loved this thing. I mean, when you see the cover in person, I think it's one of those books that, you know, it looks really cool with what you see online, but when you actually see it in person, to me, I feel like it really, really stands out. And so I really love this book for that reason. Now, as to why it got hot recently, well, we know we got, you know, the third Spider-Man film, and there was actually some leaked, deleted scenes of Tom Holland getting a symbiote Spider-Man suit. So a lot of people are thinking that, you know, what's up next for the Tom Holland Spider-Man universe is that there's going to be some interaction between him and Venom or the symbiote storyline or something like that. So a lot of the symbiote books now seem really interesting to those out there in the market. And one of the cool things about Web of Spider-Man number 1 is that this is actually going to be the last time that Spider-Man, Peter Parker, would wear the symbiote suit. And, you know, at the end of this issue, it would come off of him, and then I think eventually it would make its way to Venom. But even if we are going in the direction of having Tom Holland have the symbiote Spider-Man suit, it feels like, you know, we're quite a ways away from actually seeing that manifest in some kind of way. So, you know, regardless, I still think think that this is a great book to have in your collection, even outside of Spec. But as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll see that there actually are some 9.9s on the census, 11 to be exact. Fair market value for those suggests $280, but there's no way that they would actually sell that low. But let's go down to the 9.8s where we see 1900. Fair market value suggests $280, but as you can see, 30-day moving average is actually sitting around the $294 range. So let's actually kind of dig into this and see, has there actually been a $300 sale? Yeah, there actually have been a few. So you see one right here for $300, one for $303, one all the way back here actually for $350. So definitely a book that has now kind of breached that $300 plateau. And it's really interesting because I definitely think that this is going to be a book that continues to get hot in the market, especially if we actually start to see Tom Holland in that black suit. And then, down at the bottom, again, not going to be too many slabs, but typically speaking, when I go into eBay looking for this thing, I can usually find it being sold around the $20 range to, $40 range, depending on the grade and the deal. All right, let's go on now to the second hottest comic of the week. And the second hottest comic of the week is going to be a little bit spicy. We're going to get into this one here, but this one is going to be X-Men Annual number 14, up 37 spots, sitting in the 62nd slot. And what is the significance of this? Well, this would be the first, what should I say, guys? First full appearance? First cameo appearance? First full cameo? I don't know, but a first appearance of a character known as Gambit. Now, this is a book that came out in 1990, written by Chris Claremont, and is a really interesting book, I think, out there in the market. Maybe this is something that is worth doing its own video about, because it is very, very controversial right now where it sits in terms of this being, the first appearance of Gambit, or is this a cameo, or is this, a second appearance of Gambit? But basically, we all know that X-Men 266, by and large, has been considered the first appearance of Gambit for, a long time. But a lot of, recent, people out there have been saying that this one right here came out before that of X-Men 266, which in fact, it did come out before that. And a lot of people have pointed to the panels inside of it, showing that Gambit was, utilized in it. Storm, I think, even calls Gambit by name. So a lot of people are saying that this should be the first appearance of Gambit. But it's really interesting because this one has picked up a lot of steam, but it still seems like X-Men 266 is the book that most people would want to own. But as to why this book has gotten hot recently, well, Matt points out in the article that there was that news about Channing Tatum, who for a long time was attached to play Gambit and was going to be making a Gambit film. There was a news article where he talked about like how he was really, hurt that it never came to fruition. And maybe that sort of sparked some interest in the market, for Gambit stuff, just people, thinking about Gambit things. Anytime there's PR about certain characters, whether there's actually a movie or TV show or not, people are going to be remembering those keys related to those characters. So that could have been one of the reasons why it picked up in the market. But this one is a really interesting one. Like if we were to get a Gambit film tomorrow, it does beg the question of like, would this be the book that would, take off mostly in the market? I mean, I think price memory is like really strong with a lot of people. It'll be hard for this book to ever be sold at higher values than that of 266. But it is an interesting discussion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you guys think is the true first appearance of Gambit? And even if you do think this book right here is the true first appearance of Gambit, do you actually ever think it's going to be more valuable than that of 266? But as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll see that the 9.8s are selling fair market value around the $450 range, although 30-day moving, however, is only $374. So it definitely looks like this book was on a correction, and maybe the Gambit discussion in the market has kind of given it a little bit of a boost as of late. We can see here that, back in April, this book was definitely selling at a high of $688, had its big correction, and now, as it starts to reach that floor, people are starting to buy back into this thing. And then down here at the bottom, of course, another book that is not going to see too many CGC slabs at the low grade, but generally speaking, when I go into eBay looking for this book in the raw form, I could see it being sold around that $40, $50 range or so. All right, and let's now go on to the hottest comic of the week. And the hottest comic of the week is one that I think is a comic collector's favorite character. And this one right here is Thor 337, up 39 spots, sitting in the 45th spot. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, you guys know this is the first appearance of the character known as Beta Ray Bill, a book that came out in 1983, written and drawn by Walt Simonson. Now, of course, Beta Ray Bill has been heavily speculated on for quite some time. We got that Easter egg of him in Thor Ragnarok, where he had, a statue on the side of that building. It's been speculated that, Beta Ray Bill might be showing up in the next Thor Love and Thunder movie. And it feels like the market is really starting to feel like, okay, now's probably the time to jump on this book, because while everyone is talking about Doctor Strange, the next movie that we're going to get after that is going to be Love and Thunder. And there's definitely good reason to suspect that this character is going to be coming. I mean, Taika Waititi, who of course is the writer-director, has made mention of the fact that, in Ragnarok, he was trying to think of ways to bring in Beta Ray Bill into that movie, but it just didn't work out. So, we can only assume that maybe he's going to try again in Love and Thunder here. But it's also interesting to think about, the recent comic books that have been coming out with Marvel Comics. We all know that Feige is the head of all things Marvel, and there's been, these limited series with Beta Ray Bill. It feels like he's been utilized, in the Dottie Cates runs. So it definitely feels like this character is on the mind for people like Kevin Feige, and it could very, very be likely that they're going to show up in Love and Thunder. And as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll take a look at the 9.8s. It's $1,200 on the census. Fair market value suggests around $825, but you can see that 30-day moving, however, is $961, although the 1-year average was $1105. So definitely a book that, as you can see from the graph, has had its ups and its downs and its ups and its downs and its ups again, and we're kind of on that up right now. And then, of course, 1983 book, not going to see too many CGCs at the low end, but generally speaking, when I go onto eBay looking for this thing, I see it being sold around that $200, $220 range or so. Well, that is all I have for this video. Those were Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of February 10th. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys have any of these books? Definitely hop over to my 10,000 subscriber giveaway contest. I'm putting up a couple what I think are really, really cool books. We got a new Avengers #7 and a CGC 9.6. You will be able to get a chance to win that book. Thank you guys so much for watching. Drop me a like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.